And hey, we are live, and this is Richard, and welcome back to Whitehack Longwinter. Um, this is our second session out of four. We are missing one of our player characters tonight, but we are moving on. I'm going to let my four fabulous players introduce themselves and their characters to you, starting with Bethany.
Hi, I'm Bethany. I'm playing Vass, the Protector playbook, and yeah, Vass is just like the cousin of the guy whose other cousin is missing, and he's kind of so far just along for the ride and to like offer backup and protection should Casimir get into trouble. He's got a little bit of a paranoid streak, which is why he's currently trying to hide a hunting knife in his clothes because, like, he heard about various mysterious deaths and things going on and wants to be prepared.
And what mysterious deaths did you hear about? Do you remember, or do you want to? We can add that. We can go more into that as you.
I don't actually remember many details. I do remember somebody was like found at the bottom of a cliff or a hill or something.
Yeah.
And you know what? Victor disappeared. Obviously, other than that, I can't think of any details.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we definitely had strange doings and going on. And once I get my food, it is apparently very early. So for those of you at home, I was having food delivered. So we are going over to Brezim next. Daryl, why don't you introduce Brezim?
Hi, I'm Daryl. My pronouns are he, him, and I am playing Brezim Rustin, whose pronouns are she, her. And Brezim is a researcher and gossip columnist who is returning to her homeland of Brezim after a very extended time away where she fled a proposed marriage that she didn't want to do. Throughout the course of her adventures, she got roped into serving under the Lady Zobor, who uses me as a means of gathering secrets about various important persons of power. I'm returning to Brezim for the first time in 15 years to seek out Xena Blackwolf, the famous scandalous silent film actress, who has a small antique revolver of jade and bone that Lady Zobor wants me to obtain. And when my friend Casimir was like, I need to go find my cousin, I was like, oh, what a coincidence. I'm a local and can help as long as you're paying the fare. So basically, I have been sniffing around trying to help Casimir with his disappearing cousin because I'm, not completely without social graces, and I want to make sure that I pay my way until I skedaddle on over to the next village to the left so that I can accomplish my mission. And basically, I've also helped Casimir kind of navigate a few of the more sticky situations about dealing with these more country folk that I happen to be one of. So I helped him score a police file actually, and I've been meticulously noting that down in my commonplace book before I went down to dinner. So my head's just buzzing with all the secrets I've been reading about in that police report about the disappearance of his cousin.
Right. And you have a rather thick police file.
Yes.
All right. And Jesse, who is playing Aurelia.
Yes, I am Jesse, he, him, playing Aurelia, whose pronouns are she, her. And she is an antiquarian with some arcane interests and abilities, as well as a bourgeois political agitator who sort of sees herself as being on the side of the proletariat, though how that comes across to them may vary. So she's sort of tagging along for the ride. She's friends with Voss. Does not have a whole lot of faith in Casimir. Who's kind of, as we will see, a little bit of a who's very much a sort of aristocratic gadfly. Is a little bit here to try and watch Voss's back, and a little bit hoping to see what's buried in the snows of Brezim. And most recently, has divined that cousin Victor is currently in danger, to which he was drawn in for his money and his connections to both power and wider society. And though she maybe could have found out more, decided that fits perfectly. And so what more information could she possibly need? The rich guy is getting what he has perhaps earned, and now we're going to have to pull him out of the fire.
All right. Thank you. And Casimir, played by Sam.
Yeah, so I'm Sam Zeitlin. I am playing the Honorable Casimir Kaczmarek, him. Casimir is tall and handsome with a close cropped beard and gray eyes. He's wearing his like sort of storm coat. He's from an old military family, nobility. His ancestors helped conquer this land, something that neither he nor anyone else here can really forget, no matter how much they might pretend. He has come in search of his cousin, quote unquote, Victor. Victor is actually someone from another noble family who was born the same hour, the same minute, the same second that Victor was. Their lives have been linked. When he heard of Victor's disappearance, he brought his various friends and one friend of friend, Aurelia, along on this kind of combination mystery solving / ski trip to this resort town. And he's quite concerned. So last session, he learned that there is a woman who is apparently Victor's wife, which is suspicious because he knows that Victor was gay. And that she was the only person who seems to have heard of his, who knew anything about his disappearance, that the police didn't treat her as a suspect. And that Razan, his journalist friend, has some dark suspicions about. So he's getting ready to go and pay this woman a visit. First we're going to dinner. But that's the thing that he is on his mind as he comes down the stairs.
All right. And you definitely also learned that people you knew were not of were present in town, which is not unheard of. I mean, it's a large mountain resort town that's known for the healing properties of its spas that people travel to from all over the Federation. So it's not, coming from one of the large cities, it's not unheard of that you will run into, even far away from home, people that you've met. Who have you heard of being here or run into personally?
Is that a question for Casimir?
That is a good question for anybody, yeah. But Casimir, being a noble, gets everybody's points for getting the answers correctly.
Sure. We will say that I have like a great aunt or something who's taken ill, and she's here using the spa. She's one of these people who's like very odd and esoteric. She's kind of like into mysticism and weird stuff. I don't quite know what to do with her.
Anyone else have somebody else they suspect is in town? Besides the people you heard about last week, and we'll talk about them in a second.
I think that Raison is really, really hoping that her brother is not in town. Because, we're from a small village, to the left of this place, and
Right.
it's a very lucrative workplace to come and, make the rich people feel special. So there's a very good chance that my brother, whose name I have not thought of yet, is probably somewhere here working.
Younger brother?
Older brother. So
Older brother.
I was even more of a disappointment when I left.
Gotcha. Okay. But also, resort towns are kind of famous for being a great place to go make money when you're young, but it's a rough place to try to make a living for more than a few years. Or at least that's been my experience of talking to people who spend years and years working in resort towns. There's not a lot of mobility. So that could be rough as a space on your brother. Do you think? Well, you don't know. Raison, you've not been in touch with your brother, have you?
No, I haven't been in touch with any of my family for a long time.
Okay, all right.
So I think my parents have a vacation home.
Okay.
But not actually. Vrelay is the name of the town that we're in, right?
Right.
So not actually in Vrelay, but I think in like outside of Casti, down by the Star Gray Lake.
Okay.
And so, but they, they'll sometimes, it takes some time, but they'll sometimes, they come to visit the towns, and I'm a little concerned. I would rather not run into them here. I've generally tried to avoid making use of their privilege. And we do maintain a relationship, but it's somewhat strained, and this isn't a holiday, and I'm hoping to avoid them if possible.
Right. And Casti is you passed it on your way in, but it was a good day and a half of driving before you on that mule. And travel in Brezim is generally, because it's mostly stony roads. So the most popular mechanized travel is the mechanical mule, which is a four-wheeled mechanical vehicle that is known for its durability, but slow. What else did you see on your way in before we sort of talk about who you've known in your former lives, but who's here, definitely here? What else did you see on your way in?
Well, we saw a dragon.
You did. There is famously at least one dragon somewhere in the Brezim Valley, possibly more. They're weird and reclusive, and who knows? But you did see a dragon far off in the distance. You saw it swoop down and clutch up something you thought was probably an auroch. Brezim. But almost definitely a dragon. What was something weird weather-wise that was definitely noticeable? I mean, despite the fact that it was November, there was snow already on the ground, which Razan could tell you was not how things were when she was growing up. Snow is not unheard of once you sort of get to the late part of November, but certainly not several inches of snow that is staying kind of perfectly in place and not thawing this late, this early in the kind of winter season. Bethany, I just want to make sure it looked like you were about to say something and you're on mute.
No, I was trying to think, like, what else did we see?
Okay.
Other than the dragon, because I remember the dragon.
One other thing, I believe that, if I remember correctly, that you learned that Victor's wife name was Silva.
So, actually, and the interesting thing about that was that that name sounded familiar to me because I once gave Ava, who's Jesse L's character, who's not here today, I once gave her information about a string of mysterious disappearances that had been traced back to a certain someone named Silva Ilmaz. And so,
Right.
so when Victor's wife was revealed to also have the last name Ilmaz, that set off some alarm bells in my head.
Right.
And did you pass this information on to Casimir? I can't remember.
I did. Well, I hinted that there was something more there, and then we never had a scene where I told you, but we can say that I did if it works for that.
Are we going to play out this dinner scene? Or are we going to...
Yeah, you guys are starting the session at dinner. I'm going to switch between note pages really quick. And yeah, there was somebody who was apparently killed. What all do you remember about that?
Was it the husband of the woman in the bar?
Tell me a little more about that. What do you remember?
Oh, that's I don't remember who it was in the bar talking to the woman. It wasn't me. I just was it Razan or was it?
I believe it was Ava.
Yeah,
in the bar.
Okay.
Yes, she. Milana Silverhand was her old acquaintance, a client of hers, somebody who engaged her family in the trade in the local silver mines, and had a husband show up at the bottom of the ravine. Any other details anyone wants to add about that right this second that you remember from last week?
So one thing that I do remember is actually that Ava and Milana were friends.
Yes.
And they actually had a previous relationship, and she was really surprised to find out that she was actually, first of all, that her last name was Yilmaz, and then secondly, that she was married to Victor Novak.
Right. It was Silva, and but Milana was married to somebody else, I believe.
Yeah, so there've been two couples where the husband disappeared.
Yeah, one is your cousin Victor.
Right, and the other is Milana is the wife, and we don't know who the husband is. I don't think.
Right.
Casimir will say, one disappearing husband seems like is an unfortunate accident. Two seems like carelessness.
That's a lot of respect for a very good application of an Oscar Wilde quote, Sam. And I'm copying a name. Sam just sent me for one of our NPCs. And let's start dinner. Are any of you the arrive at dinner late type people, or are any of you the arrive at dinner super early type people, or are you pretty much going to get there about the time your table's ready?
Customer's a military dude. He's going to get there when it's ready, the time he's supposed to be there.
I think Aurelia is typically the super early part type, but is arriving on time, feeling very late, as she's just finished her divination.
Right.
A little bit flustered by that whole situation, and she gets there feeling very late, just as the table is ready.
I think Boss would get there early.
What about Razan?
Razan is the kind of person who gets there exactly 2 minutes early so that she can scope the land and also usually like get a little bit of dirt on people.
So I think it sounds like Razan and Voss would be the first people there. Voss has already been sort of up and around and ready for dinner pretty early. So I think, are you both sort of drinkers who would sit at the bar while you waited for your table?
I think what
and for your associates too.
Stands there looking around for a while because it's the same idea as Razan's, and then realizes, oh, I look even more suspicious than so goes and gets a drink at the bar. And that's about when Razan shows up.
Since you're a little bit early there, Voss, and you're specifically keeping your eyes out, why don't you check wisdom? And if you feel like you have a trait that would make you better at that, tied to wisdom, you can roll that, but I'm not seeing one.
No, I'm not. Especially.
Yeah, you just want to get 10 or under.
Okay. No, 13.
Okay. Yeah, by the time you see Razan head in, there's not a lot there. It's a very strange restaurant. It's a little like being on a ship with tables that are too big for almost any one party. So you're also realizing you're going to be seated with other people, perhaps awkwardly. But you're not seeing anyone who's specific, other than people who are excessively prim. You're not seeing anyone who is jumping out at you when you see Razan enter. The two of you go straight to the bar, or stop and chat before, or are you gonna tell me about your approach?
I think that Razan kind of comes in, scans the room to see if there's anybody of importance, and then sees Voss, and then kind of beelines over to him to kind of touch base.
Mm-hmm. Razan, why don't you also make a wisdom check? Since you've scanned the room.
So my wisdom is a 10,
and
I got a 6.
A 6. Yes. That's moderately close to a 10. So I'm gonna tell you who specifically jumps out at you, who you may not have been expecting. The other thing I think even Voss noticed, there are certainly more dinner tables that are full here. I mean, the dining room is not full, but there are more tables that are full here than there is space in the inn or in the hotel. This is one of the very few restaurants in town, and one of the very few where you don't have to make a reservation probably weeks in advance for a dinner. So this is a moderately, you know, it's not super busy, but it certainly seems busier than the hotel could even possibly be. And there's also a garlicky, licoricey, nutty smell on the air. And Razan, you see her head down, nose deep in conversation with a very, very young man. Maybe 22, maybe 23. Distinguished looking Silva Imats. And I'd like, ask me one question about her that might tell you something about, you know, that you might see about her that might tell you something.
I think that it's very clear that she's dressed in mourning.
No, she is not. Yeah, she is dressed in. Now, Victor has not been found killed, but she's dressed sort of in that borderline. Unlike Milana, her husband has not been found killed, so she's dressed on that borderline of something very grim.
Well, I guess maybe the thing that I notice is that.
Or what question? What would you look for as you quickly sort of got out of her line of sight, so she can't look up and see you, or as you approach her, whichever.
I think I'd want to see what the body, like I'd analyze the body language of like how she is with this very young man. Like, is it obvious that he's kind of like a gigolo or something like that, or is the tenor of their body language perhaps more businesslike? Is she tense? Is she relaxed?
You'd almost swear that she's either his domineering mother, which she seems slightly too young for, or she's his boss. Though that, I mean, there's something about the formal arrangement that would not suggest either of those things. Like, so certainly nobody in the House of Zobor would sit that closely to you in a public restaurant in a nice dining room while wearing either black tie or evening gown, and which is certainly what most people are wearing here. Their proximity suggests close relationship, or perhaps even a minor scandal. Her body language suggests domineering, and his suggests annoyance. And there's Voss also. Give your time a little moment for a scene before other people arrive. And you're taking
So I think I go over and I say, "Oh, Voss, have you noticed anything in particular about our dining companions this evening?"
Not specifically, no. They're all complete strangers to me, and I'm more observing them now so that I can remember them and notice if they're here again later. Or
what do you notice about that woman in black over there?
She's the young man with her doesn't seem to like what she's telling him.
What would you do if I told you that that woman has been connected to a string of mysterious disappearances?
Really?
I'm sure Ava would tell you soon enough, so...
Okay. A string of them, like, how many are we talking about here?
Enough to be called a string, of course.
Right, right. What was this when you lived here, or is this since then?
Oh, this is fairly recent. Ava was looking into it as something to do with her business.
Well, if we never see that young man again, I guess there'll be another length of the string. Huh?
Another knot, as it were. And it's a shame, he's rather good looking.
Well, can you go rescue him?
Oh, no, that's far above my station.
Yeah, same here. Do you really think she's, I don't know, a murderer or a... No.
And I think that's about the time Aurelia and Casimir, who are staying in the same bungalow on the property of the hotel, very nice bungalow, arrive in the dining room. And you can continue your conversation. I just wanted to make sure that people were arriving.
Yeah, so you probably catch the tail end of me asking, do you really think she's a murderer?
Hello, boss. Hello, Rezan.
Hello, Casimir.
How are the drinks?
They're very good. I don't know about all of the drinks, but this one sneaks up on you.
I think our table's ready now.
Good, good.
Rezan, have you been telling Voss about our curious discoveries this afternoon?
Oh no, I wouldn't dream of taking away your thunder. Please, nothing now.
Well, Voss and Aurelia, we visited the police station here, and we learned that they seem to have done basically no investigation into the disappearance of Victor. They simply interviewed his widow, a woman named, let me type her name into the chat, I keep forgetting this, Silva Yolani something, Costa? Silva Yolani Costa, is that right? Awesome. A woman named Silva Yolani Costa.
Yilmaz, sorry, Yilmaz, yeah.
Well, Silva Yilmaz Costa, who told them nothing, and is not a suspect for reasons unclear. And then they went down their merry way. Rezan was able to convince them to give her a file. Have you had a chance to look at that?
I skimmed it briefly, but I thought it would be rude to be late to dinner. I plan on transcribing the whole thing later tonight.
You just asked them for a file and they gave it to you?
I have my ways.
Yeah.
Privilege,
Privilege
does have a certain amount of power.
Tell me, Voss, could you say no to that smile?
I would pretend to say yes to that smile.
Well, you're a hardened operative. You to protect me.
Leader D, who is a tall, other than very, very fine suit, largely nondescript woman, but with very dark old settler hair. Like, it's so dark here, it's just sort of like the sheer blackness is unheard of among classic baronial post-Federation members, and it's almost striking. Comes over and nods and apologizes for seating you late, but there's at least one other party who will be at your table who is not here. But would you like to sit down and have wine?
Please.
And the body language sort of suggests that, yes, you're going to sit down and have wine. And it's the four of you, and they're... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry?
Casimir says, of course, and I'm sure you have a particularly nice bottle to make it up to us.
All our wines are good wines, sir. Also, we'll send out hors d'oeuvres, compliments of the chef.
Wonderful.
A good bottle of wine is sent over. And they serve it to Casimir first. There are a few other people at your table, though. With the missing party, they are not sort of seated next to you.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you like to talk about for the next? You sort of wait for the final.
So I think once we get settled, I say, I too have some news about your cousin Victor, Casimir. I have consulted the cards, and it appears he has not just decided to walk away from a wife he's less than satisfied with, but that he seems to have been drawn into something because of his wealth and position, and has put himself in danger because of it. And
sorry, go ahead and stop you.
I was just gonna say, and I think I say that in a way that shows my obvious judgment of him for those decisions.
This is a setting where magic is like a known thing, right? And so this is like, this divination is just like a legitimate form of getting knowledge that everyone would understand and respect.
Definitely, yeah.
So Casimir just says, but he's alive.
So far as I could tell, as of about 20 minutes ago. But most definitely he's gotten himself into some kind of danger. I couldn't see more.
Thank you.
Brezim, you have an important bit of information. Are you keeping that to yourself right at this moment, or are you sharing it?
In traffic. So is my important bit of information the file, or is it about?
That Mrs. Novak, the would-be Mrs. Novak, Silva Ilmats, is sitting here in the dining room.
Oh, okay. So she's she's.
Because I don't think she was somebody that Casimir would know.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think that at that point I say in a very conversational manner, because I'm very like not worried about, but like very wary of the other guests who are sitting at the table. And I say, by the way, Casimir, have you happened to notice that that's the honorable lady Silva, that's the honorable lady Yilmaz Novak sitting right over there.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think that with your closeness with her husband, you should definitely go over and say hello.
I agree. And hopefully she will be amenable to having a longer talk in private later. And
why don't you make a... Actually, I'll just ask you this. You notice that she is speaking to a very young man next to her who does not seem to be happy to be speaking to her.
Mm-hmm.
What about that young man is, besides being 21, what about him is decidedly Victor's type?
Oh, interesting. I think this young man he's very clean shaven, which actually takes a lot of effort in this kind of society. When
Oh yeah.
So he's keeping his very well groomed.
All right. Yeah. So he is both young, very well groomed, handsome. And you were saying there, Casimir?
Oh, well, so Casimir is kind of like idly stroking his lapel pin, and he gives Voss a look. And this look, like, you could tell me if this is not the kind of thing not the way the relationship works, not the kind of thing that Voss would do, but like this look is like we're gonna fuck this person up later. Like, or rather, I'm gonna ask you to fuck this person up later. Potentially.
I don't know. I don't know if we've gone through with this arrangement before.
All right.
I think I think you definitely do it, and I definitely know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
But it may be something that I've kind of weaseled out of before, or
interesting.
You're drunk. Let's go home.
All right.
I don't know that I've ever actually just beaten someone up for you.
Okay. Seems fair.
So Silva gets up and sort of walks away from the table as you're sort of giving Casimir a look. And then the last party in your table arrives, and it's your aunt, Agnesia. Am I saying that correctly?
I wouldn't really know.
Okay.
It should be pronounced Agnieszka.
Okay. Actually, I did know that because I read that book where you know what I'm talking about, I assume, the Naomi Novik book.
Oh.
No.
Uprooted. The protagonist's name is Agnieszka.
Okay.
I was still pronouncing it wrong despite having read that book.
Wow. No helping some people.
Agnieszka arrives with her secretary. You assume it's her secretary. She's fired many secretaries. But she has sort of the berated look of Agnieszka's secretaries. And her secretary sits opposite her. And Agnieszka sits down and then looks wide-eyed at you.
Oh, hello, Auntie. What a wonderful surprise.
I got no notice you were coming to rally.
Well, it was all on very short notice. I actually didn't realize you were still here. I thought that your spa cure was done, that you were heading back before the snows came in thick.
Well, they were not supposed to be here yet. It's abominable. The weather will be mid-December before I can get back to the city.
How atrocious. Well, there are far worse places to be stuck.
Food gets redundant and repetitive. Old settler cuisine does not sit well with me, and everything else is bland.
Must you be so parochial?
I'm so glad you're here. They begin serving food. And they bring around crostini. It's confit with pine nuts. Brezim, this is something you are used to. For the rest of you, it's possibly never heard of it. Oh, she definitely recognizes and pointedly ignores Voss.
Yeah, Casimir doesn't actually introduce any of you guys. He would introduce Eva if she was here. But it's just too many questions.
Yeah, I think she definitely gives Voss the passing. Like she looks away from you just a second after she begins rolling her eyes.
Yep.
I mean, it is a different section of the family, but that only makes her more judgmental, I think.
Oh, yeah, even better.
And Casimir will give you like a sympathetic look when he gets the chance.
Like, you know, eye rolling is I mean, that's downright polite.
Yeah.
Is your idiot friend Victor here? Is he traveling with you?
He lives here, actually. We came to see him, but
It would be polite if he made a social call.
he doesn't seem to be around.
Well, it's not like he was ever stable.
Excuse me?
It's not ever been one for staying in one place for more than 5 seconds, flitting after the nearest thing to catch his eye.
The Novaks are a fine family, and Victor is a fine man. I don't know why you were trying to provoke me.
In any case...
In any case?
I think she takes a piece of crostini off your plate after, downing several pieces of her own.
Family, I say to Voss.
So,
who are you traveling with? And Rizan, you are sitting next to her secretary.
yeah, so while all that is happening, I think that I'm kind of like probably like trying to, give my most sympathetic looks and like signal that I too am just the help and, play that whole kind of, like brother in arms card.
Mm-hmm.
So what is Eva's last name again? I guess I'll just check on this.
I hit that before.
She doesn't have a last name.
Yeah, sorry.
So Eva blank is here with me, but she was feeling a little ill and hasn't come to dinner. And of course, you remember Voss.
It's so good to know you're here with somebody of refinement and distinction. Is she coming down to dinner? Is there a relationship I should know about? Your mother is tight-lipped about gossip.
Rest assured, if I am seeing someone, you will be the last to know.
I don't know why you try to provoke me. Yeah, Rizan,
yeah, I think that while all of this like very uncomfortable family drama is going down, I probably like make a little bit of a gesture to like see if I can get the secretary to come get a drink at the bar with me.
Yeah, she quickly stands up as soon as given any social excuse to stand up and move away.
Yeah, so I think I go over there and like I do the kindness of ordering 2 drinks, like cocktails strong. And as soon as they arrive, I like hand one to her and like clink mine up against it. And it's like, your boss is quite the terror.
Well, you know, the whole family, from what I hear, always a terror. What's he like?
Oh, you know, he's not that bad, but, you know, in the way of these things, I have to be a little discreet, but he's rather freewheeling, and that provides a lot of freedoms.
His aunt says he's a libertine.
His aunt probably says a lot of things, and I'll bet half of them are at least true.
A scandal is what she said, but you know.
Their type always think everything is a scandal. Breathing the wrong air is a scandal to someone like her.
How long have you been in service?
Well, I have jumped around from position to position, but I rather like my current line of work.
Oh, is he pays well then?
My employer is very generous.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you worked for Casimir.
Oh, that's all I said was my employer is very generous.
Oh, well, it's just oh. She looked slightly confused, like she said something of a faux pas. Vas, what are you doing?
I think, yeah. Aside from just kind of like silently, not actually rolling my eyes at this family drama, but kind of internally rolling my eyes at this family drama. I occasionally sort of glance over at Sylvia, whose name I have already forgotten, just to kind of see how that conversation is going. You'll not Snowback. You think yeah. It's not that complicated, but yeah, I'm kind of keeping an eye on her, I think.
Now you notice that she has left the room, and the young man she was with seems momentarily sulky, and then starts panning the room with his eyes.
Okay.
Silva's coat is still here, right?
Silva's coat? No, she's not. It's not at her chair. It would be at the coat check or in her room, depending on where she's staying.
I guess just if it looks like she's leaving for the night, then Casimir would go and try and talk.
She did not take her handbag.
Okay, great. Someone should rifle that.
I mean, the guy who's with her is still there, though, right?
Right.
It's a little hard to go through her stuff.
He is panning the room, and Bosch, you're looking around. You notice his eyes settle right on Casimir as he is talking to his aunt, great aunt, who's maybe not so great.
Yeah. Is there any particular expression on his face, or is he just? Or are they just like the most interesting conversation currently in the room? Or
make a wisdom check there.
Sure. Nope, 11. I am bad at wisdom.
He seems to be sort of like just. He seems to be sort of cycling through expressions, and then sort of chewing his lip, and then every time Casimir starts to turn away from his aunt, he sort of cycles through expressions again. It's almost like, I don't know. Aurelia, this is an awkward moment. Are you just enjoying it, or are you intervening some way?
Yeah. So I think initially, I was enjoying Casimir's discomfort. But I have my own share of uncomfortable relatives. And though he seemed quite capable of holding his own with her, I think nevertheless, at a certain point, I say, sorry, is she also a Kazmarak? Casimir, is she also a Kazmarak? And does she have a title?
Oh, I don't think she has a title. I don't know. So, yeah, this Richard, you can weigh in on this. So I was assigned the honorable, which is like not really. It's like an honorific, but not a title. So I imagine that she would have a female honorific, but not a title.
Yeah, the honorable is fairly gender neutral.
And
she is.
Let's make her a Kazmarak. I need to make a new last name.
She can be a Kazmarak, and let's call her a dowager countess.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
In your family, but married into another one before she was left widowed.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So in some ways, she actually has more. She has she's pretty high social status even within my family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not anyone of prominence in the family she's currently.
Got it.
From which she received the dowager title from.
So I think at a certain point, despite the fact that I have not been introduced, I say, and I'm incidentally grateful for it. I say, pardon me, Countess, but given that we're all stuck here, what exactly do you recommend doing? Given our position in the weather, and I'm trying to sort of just like move some of the conversation away from Casimir in my sympathy for him.
Now there's nothing to do but wait until the gods decide. Stop punishing me and let me return to the city.
Mm-hmm. You enjoy games, cards, tiles, anything of that sort? I take it you're not a skier.
No. Young lady, I am a seer of great skill.
Oh, are you?
And a painter, an artist also.
Oh my. So you have lots to do on these cold winter days indoors. The vistas here are quite marvelous.
I find my heart only wants to draw my home.
What do you have you seen anything of interest?
Let's make a charisma check there, and let's see kind of how well she's sort of falling for this distraction.
Okay. Unfortunately, I feel like the Independent Progressive Association is not going to help me out much.
No. In fact, I'm going to use that against you.
Lovely. So what does that mean? I roll with disadvantage?
You roll with disadvantage. Because that's a twofer. You have two benefits from that, correct?
Yep. So yeah, you can definitely use it against me. An 8 and a 16. So that is a 16.
All right. Not a double failure, but a failure, it sounds like.
Yeah, my charisma's 10.
Yeah. So that's a. What's the tell, Aurelia? What is it she stops and stares at as she starts to answer your question?
So I haven't really described what I'm wearing. And I'm dressed. We're here. I'm dressed simply, but nicely. In kind of a very almost like mousy suit, skirt, a skirt suit, with like a cream colored blouse, and I also wear a lapel pin, and I think it is the lapel pin of the bearded lizard, from the particular sect that I'm a part of. Like I wear my I wear my religious affiliations on my blazer, but my political affiliations I keep a little bit closer.
She stops and looks at you. And she blinks. And her face drifts down to her lapel pin and says, "Are you a friend of my nephew's?"
We're acquainted.
And she just turns and looks at you, Casimir. I should have had them make dinner at home for me. I'm feeling unwell.
Anyone who wants can come and stay in this hotel and eat at this restaurant.
I hope to see you before you leave. Please do come and pay a social visit.
Of course. I hope you are feeling better. And I'm sure the snows will pass soon enough.
As she gets up to go, I say, "Your aunt is a very pleasant woman, Casimir."
She comes from a long line of pleasant women. I have a whole pleasant family.
I have a pleasant family of my own. You have my deepest sympathies.
Much appreciated. I will leave you here when it comes time for me to make my mandatory social call.
Oh, you don't think we could all have a pleasant time together?
Oh, a pleasant time indeed.
Meet the other side of his family. They're even more pleasant.
Yes, Voss has had many years of experience dealing with these people.
And then that's when you notice that the young man who was with Ilsa, or with I'm getting all names wrong, with Silva Ilbats, is trying to make eye contact with you.
Me?
Yes.
Sure.
He's doing that. What's your wisdom? Before I even decide if you need to roll this.
Let's take a look. My wisdom...
Oh yeah, you're gonna need to roll this.
Oh yeah. I'm not the wisest of fellows. I am charismatic though. Got that going for me.
I think Raisons and Aurelia are in position to see this, but
oh, I
you're
see.
not. Oh, you did? Oh wow.
Roll under it. I rolled before.
Aurelia, you see the eye contact a moment before it happens, and Casimir, you do too, because he's kind of cycling through facial expressions so that he can look like he just accidentally looked up just at the same time you did.
All right. So I succeeded. What do I think of this eye contact?
He looks sort of delighted and surprised, but it seems very practiced. It's like with that wisdom check and with Aurelia being the wisest member of the group, it just seems like he's in Voss. You notice this now too, that he's been trying for a moment to make eye contact, and now he's trying to like put on an air that he's just spontaneously looked up at the same moment you did.
What does his social class look like?
He is well dressed. He is clearly old settler. The dark hair. I mean, there are old settlers without dark hair, but dark hair that dark is.
I guess I'll just like glance at the now vacant seat next to me, and then back at him.
Brezim, her secretary is looking after her the Dowager Countess, but who has not motioned to her or anything, and it sort of seems to be wondering if she should go. What do you say?
I think at that point I realized that my time's running out, and so I just very casually mentioned, so what does a Dowager Countess need a secretary for on a ski vacation?
Oh, you know, it's correspondence and arrangements. There's lots of arrangements that need to be made.
I mean, this town is rather small. I would think that aside from, you know, the half dozen social calls that you probably coordinate, that you must have a lot of free time on your hands. Is that the case?
There's a number of disapproving letters I have to send.
Oh, yes, I believe that Casimir has been on the receiving end of those.
Yes.
The Honorable Mr. Kazimirak.
Yes, it's definitely, and he's not the only one she disapproves of.
Okay. So that's all that you do, just day in and day out, arrange her social calendar and, you know, write disapproving letters.
And you're getting the sense that she's finished the drink way faster than she should have, and she sort of blushes. If you want to proceed with this conversation along this kind of pursuing line, I need you to make a little bit of a charisma check before you do.
Okay. Yeah, so go ahead and just, boom. Oh my god, it's a 13 and my charisma's 14.
She looks very uncomfortable and then turns to you and gives you a deep blush, and she hides her smile. She's, I'm seeing one of the local policemen, but don't tell Madam.
I smile and I lean in and it's like, oh, I would never. I think that in this modern day and age that it is entirely acceptable for an employed woman to find her own enjoyments outside of her work.
I know. Especially when work is so terribly dull. I suppose we're not eating dinner here, and I should go and make sure she's not taken ill or anything like that.
I smile and I say, well, if you should ever like to socialize at any point, feel free to look me up. I'm here at the hotel. And I slide her like a piece of paper that I've quickly jotted my...
But she offers you sort of like the handshake, and she's like, Egret.
Egret is her name.
Mm-hmm.
And I introduce her, and it's like, Brezim, it's lovely to meet you.
Right. And you head back to the table?
Yeah, and so at this point, I'm heading back. I have my cocktail that I still haven't finished. And is the gentleman over there like coming to the table as well?
He is, and he sort of discreetly sits down. The people across from you have been very disinterested in anything. They seem to be having some sort of understated family argument themselves.
Someone please rifle that pocketbook.
Yeah, I think I'd actually... Yeah, so I think that if it's sitting there, I think that I probably like wend my way over there and just kind of like not look at it at the table. I kind of like scoop it into my own clutch and then go to freshen up in the restroom.
Make a quick dexterity check.
Okay. Oh, that's a low one for me, I think. So that's a 9. Let's see how bad I botch this. That's a 17.
So you head straight to the, you scoop it up and head straight to the restroom. He comes and sits down next to you. And he smiles at all three of you. And I just couldn't help but notice that looked very dramatic.
Well, you know how family can be.
Is she going for a silent film award?
I think they've saved those for the young and beautiful.
I think silence would not be her style. Maybe theater.
He sort of extends his hand. Is it Bashir Falconbrood?
Falconroo?
Falconbrood.
Can you type that in the chat?
Yeah. And he just sort of gives you an eye, and just like, of those Falconbroods.
Do I know what he's talking about?
Yeah, I don't. Unless people really want to make an intelligence check, I don't think people would know. Brezim would know, but
Razan is elsewhere.
Well,
I'm Kasmarek.
of those Kasmareks.
What other Kasmareks? This is my cousin Voss, and this is Aurelia.
For all three of you, is a very firm handshake. More of the business sort than the genteel sort. And Brezim, in the restroom, what are you looking at? Are you going to sort of? Are you going into the women's room and starting to rifle through the purse?
Yes, I think that I probably like lock myself away and then just kind of like try to very methodically, one by one, go through the things in the purse and see if there's anything of interest there.
You definitely, it's you see her state ID, the papers. She's identified as an old settler. How did she know you in the city?
We met in the city then, actually, not in.
Oh yeah, which how does she know you? I think that's the better question.
Okay, I think that. So I don't think that we know each other personally because I think the thing is that I dug up some dirt on her for Ava.
Right.
And,
okay.
But I think that if she has heard of me, it's maybe not like me specifically, like she could recognize me by sight. But I think that Razon probably has a little bit of a reputation as like someone who digs up dirt on people and then publishes it in her papers.
So there's several envelopes. There's a pocketbook with a small amount of cash. There's credit notes from the hotel. There's credit notes from other hotels in the valley or inns in the valley. There are several sealed envelopes. One of them specifically says license on it. But before you can do anything else, you see a woman's hand come over the edge of the door. And you're sort of in the women's lounge. and you see the hand kind of come over the edge of the stall door, and start to tug at it. Cosmere, this is the second time this man's knee has brushed your leg. Not so subtly.
Yeah.
And he's just making small talk. So what brings you to the valley with so many extraordinary friends? Lord Cosmere?
I'm afraid not. The honorable, if you must, but surely there's no need for such titles. By the way, Cosmere is like flirting back with this guy.
The honorable makes you sound so unexciting.
I know, but that's okay. I've always been able to make my own excitement. We're here to see friends. Although, in truth, does one need a reason to come to a place like this? The slopes, the mountain air, the people to see, the people to meet.
The Falcon Broods have long cherished this place. It's an extraordinary place.
Yes. What brings you to town? Are you staying long?
Oh no, I was here to see a friend. I was here to see a dear friend. Just gotten married.
Oh, what is the name? Maybe we know some people in common.
Victor Novak, Mr. Victor Novak.
Yes, I know him well. Did you get to see him?
No, it was unfortunate. He was missing shortly after I arrived. I've been staying with his new wife. I was sadly about to say widow, but I'm hoping no. It's good you're here. Did you know he and his wife would come up to?
I was hoping to see him. Tell me, what is his wife like? I haven't gotten to meet her.
Well, the Honorable Mrs. Novak. Silva. She's just an extraordinary person, and very determined. Very determined. Long acquainted with my family. Long known to my family. Old settler blood, but no title, but an extraordinary businesswoman in her own right.
I see. Well,
and Victor loves decisive women.
Oh yes.
He sort of reaches over and starts topping off everybody's wine bottle with just the bottle that's sitting on the table.
Yeah. So Cosmere will continue to pass the time with this guy. I don't know if other people are also joining the conversation or if they're kind of like hanging back. But he's happy to talk. He's curious whether Silva will return. And if
not seen a sign of Silva returning.
Can I just at some point, I'm sort of like sitting back and listening to this and trying to get a read on how full of shit this Falcon Brood fellow is.
Do you want to roll wisdom for some hard numbers on how full of shit?
Yes, that would be lovely. Like an exact volume measurement. Would be good.
And do you have anything you can kind of use there, or that would be appropriate?
I don't think so. I don't have any wisdom related stuff.
Okay. So 12 or under? again, for people watching at home, 12. Whitehack is a roll high without going over. So the closer you get to 12, the better off you are. And if you nail 12 exactly, you are in great shape.
Oh, it's a 2, so it's under at least.
It is under. You know he's... Well, A, because you saw it. And B, well, A, because you saw him clearly warming up to make eye contact with Casimir and then look surprised. That he knew exactly who Casimir was, or had a very, very good idea. What is the tell that he seems to be here specifically to, because he was told to, or you don't know paid to is the right one, but you know he's here because he is assigned to be.
So I think he is, when he thinks Casimir is not, like when Casimir turns his head away for a second or like leans down to pick up his glass, he keeps on glancing back in 2 places. Number one, the direction that Silva went, which would maybe be kind of natural. She had been his companion. She walked away. It's back where they were sitting. But then also sort of off down another hallway, as if there's either someone watching him there or he's expecting someone to come from there. Like, it's not clear to me exactly what he's expecting, but like there's something there that he's like, there's another person that he's expecting to somehow or another either intervene or check up on what's going on. And if I can jump into the conversation, I think I might just ask him, you know, what are you expecting to come down that? What do you keep on looking for over there, Monsieur Falconbrood?
He turns and gives you a little bit of a look of genuine surprise. And let's cut back to the women's lounge, where a quick jostle, not so forcefully, more just deftly opens the door of your stall in the women's lounge, Brezim. And there stands the woman you identified as the maitre d', who steps inside and closes the door behind her and says, "I don't believe that's your pocketbook."
Certainly you are right. I was looking for who might own it so that I could return it.
You perhaps could have left it at the seat of the person.
Well, the table was empty and it didn't seem like anyone was coming back anytime soon. I was worried someone with more ill intentions than I might steal it.
You know, we do know who's sitting at every seat, at every table.
Well, I did mention ill intentions, and I did think that perhaps I could have gotten a small reward for it. I mean, as someone who understands where we old settlers come from, I think you can understand that I was just trying to find a way to make my way amongst these rich outlanders.
Her eyes sort of look at you sympathetically. She sort of starts to reach out towards the pocketbook, and I want you to make a charisma check there.
That is a 12 under my 14.
Oh, good. She reaches for it and then she nudges your elbow and pulls you in. And she just whispers in your ear, "Why don't you take that and go back?" No, I'm sorry. Give me that. Return to your rooms. I'll send your coat and some meals, some food for you. Just make sure this is brushed over. She seems very nervous. Just, you know, between the two old settlers in that dining room, between the two young women from the valley in that dining room,
I think there's probably...
just slip back to your room. I'll send your coat. And she just pats you gently on the elbow and sort of cups your arm and takes Silva's pocketbook away from you. Are you letting it go?
I don't see any way of getting out of this without escalating it.
Everybody who's not in the women's lounge can either continue conversation with Mr. Falconbrood or rudely look away and see what's going on.
I mean, I'll rudely look away and see what's going on. I don't think he'll care or notice.
I will continue conversation with Mr. Falconbrood. In fact, I think I'm going to try and sort of wrap things up, but in a way, but essentially, like start talking about this wonderful bottle of brandy that I have in my suite, and then invite him by for a nightcap later. But then, and then we'll sort of see if I can't get him to sort of split off for now. Then,
if only I could ever be as smooth as Casimir.
And I'm I'm still waiting for his answer to my question. Also,
what did you last ask him?
I asked him what he kept looking at.
I don't know. I was just, I was with Mrs. Novak, and she said she'd be right back, and she had something. Well, anyway, I should get back to. And yes, of course, certainly. Make a wisdom check there. Vas?
$19. I think that whatever drink I had at the bar is clouding my mind today.
Yeah, you overhear him going, "Well, our bungalows are of course very near to each other. Are you staying there by yourself?" And he's going on. You're sensing potential impending awkwardness. What's something you say in the conversation at this point, Vas?
Oh, well, won't Mrs. Novak expect you here when she comes back?
That's the point when two things happen in quick succession. The people who've been having the very uncomfortable conversation, clearly in high-class social code with each other, across from you, suddenly pause. And a young woman in that group just sort of reaches across to you, Voss, and just like, I'm very sorry, but have they come by to take anyone's dinner order yet?
No, they haven't. Now that you mention it.
Then you hear, Voss, you hear this very decidedly. You know exactly what it sounds like. Somebody kicks the kitchen door open, even though you're sort of seated where you can't really see it immediately, very loudly. And then you hear it smash into the wall. Like I said, it's not crowded, but there's more people here than are in the hotel. So there's about 20 people in the room right now, including yourselves. And then you hear the gun go off.
Okay, that's...
In the women's lounge, you've been a second ago left inside by yourself, and you hear her moving towards the doorway. Brezim, what are you going to do? Are you going to escalate, or are you going to let her get clear before you try to figure out what's going on?
Is it? I heard the gunshot as well.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
You will.
No, like I think that for now, my cover, like ultimately, like this isn't necessarily my mystery to solve. So like I'm doing what I can, but I'm not going to stick my neck out unnecessarily. Mm-hmm. So I think that I've covered myself. You know, the Maitre D thinks that I was, you know, doing something much less bad than I was actually doing. So I'm gonna I'm gonna let it go because you know, I have that like great memory, so I at least know some names that were on the letters, and I can potentially parlay that into something.
And you know, there was one note said license.
Yes.
And those words seem to come within the valley. That is something you would know sort of right away.
It allows people to come in the valley.
No. The letters are the license you didn't get a chance to open before she popped open the door. The letters that were also in envelopes are sent to and from other places in the valley.
Okay. Did I recognize any of the names like right off the bat, or would they require a little bit of research?
Nothing that jumped out at you.
Yeah, I think I basically just
all of them are fairly common names. Like you didn't recognize family names as anything but other than just this is a relatively common family name.
Okay.
Or relatively common person names. But a lot happens in 15 years.
So I think what I do is I stay in like my like the powder room basically. And you know, I kind of pull out my commonplace book and I jot down like everything that I can remember about these letters. So like any potential leads and stuff like that.
You get stuff jotted down as you do. That's when you hear the gunshot. That's also when you hear your brother's voice.
Is it coming from the same area as the gunshot?
Yeah, and it's saying, down, down, all of you, get down.
Is he robbing the place? Okay. My initial response would be to flee, but I always had a soft spot for my brothers, so I have to go investigate.
Down, down, everyone get down is the thing that immediately follows the gunshot. Well, also lots of screaming, including the people across from you who looked on the verge of divorce and dissolution the younger one looks. You're not sure it's a parent-child relationship, but it looked like they were about to file for emancipation right there on the spot. And now all of a sudden they're sort of huddled together, clinging to each other.
Even before like someone yells "get down," I have done that and like grabbed the person nearest to me. I assume that's either like Aurelia or Casimir.
It would have to be Aurelia,
And like kind of.
or unless you think it's Casimir.
No. Mr. Falconbird is probably between me and Casimir, so it's probably Aurelia. Like, get down on the floor, like and trying to hide under the table.
Aurelia, what about you?
I mean, when Voss pulls me down, I just go down. I am not equipped to deal with a armed robbery. So I'm sort of like, I'm going to keep my head down, something, and just try not to get shot.
Casimir, the man with you seems genuinely shocked. And is back to looking quickly down the hallway from which nothing has emerged and over to the kitchen with just a genuine sense of terror. What are you doing? You may be one of the few people with professional preparation for exactly this sort of moment.
Who are you talking to?
Casimir?
Oh yes. Okay. So can I see where the shot came from or anything like that?
A mid-30s old settler man who is standing in the middle of the kitchen door with 3 or 4 other people in what look like staff outfits moving around behind him.
And is this a kind of society where like I would be carrying a pistol around or no?
If you have something small and discreet, certainly.
Yeah, so I have like a big like long rifle that's not here, but I probably also have a small pistol. All right, so Victor will get down for now. I assume there's no obvious cover for him to get in. And Voss would know that like Victor is probably going to try and do something sort of heroic and manly at some point. So you may need to either prevent this or pull his fat out of the fire or something. You just like you've been in not this situation before, but like it's what he would do.
Right. Yes, I've definitely seen you be a heroic, manly idiot before. Last time you almost froze to death. So.
Well, somehow I always seem to make it through. But even cats only have 9 lives.
And the mid-30s man is talking, shoots a couple more times into the ceiling, barely missing the chandelier, and demanding that everyone get down. If everyone cooperates, the majority of you will come out alive. And there will be no need for any absurd unpleasantries.
It's a little late for that.
Yes, I'm afraid dinner has been ruined.
It was never even served. Brezim, what are you doing?
I think that I've very quietly snuck through the hallways, and I'm trying to get a peek at whoever this is who's holding everyone hostage, and trying to get assess the situation to see, first and foremost, if it's my brother, and secondly, if he's acting alone.
It is indeed your brother now standing in the middle of the banquet hall, or the dining hall. And there are several other people, no one you decidedly recognize, but people you recognize from around the hotel as being on staff.
But like no one who looks like they're like assisting him.
No, they seem to be assisting him. In other words, he's starting to yell for people to put their bags, wallets onto the table. All of it and everything. Leave nothing out.
So, but are the hotel staff like armed and actively like are they conspirators, or are they just kind of doing?
Oh, they are actively doing things. They're not. Only a few of them are armed with knives.
Oh, okay.
They are actively moving around, pointing at people to put things on the table.
Oh, okay. Is there like maybe like a balcony area or like a second floor or something where I could get like a better view of what's going on? So to kind of like explain what I'm thinking of doing is, if it seems very clearly like my brother is the leader, what I want to do is I want to get a better vantage point, and then I want to use my electrical elemental spirit to shock the fuck out of him and drop him so that I can hopefully put a stop to this.
There is a sort of mezzanine level. It's not currently open, since it's not a very crowded evening.
Velvet rope never stopped me.
So are you trying to sort of sneak up there and get on there?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
It's moderately easy, though you are not graceful.
I am not.
So why don't you roll dexterity at advantage?
It's a 1 and a 17.
So the one works fine. You're able to slip over the rope and head upstairs. Everything on the table, everything on the tables. There's no reason for an absurd number of people to get injured in this robbery, says the man in the mask. I think Rezan would be the only person who would know what face is under that mask.
Some questions about the scene.
Mm-hmm.
One, what kind of a gun?
It's a full-size revolver.
Okay.
It's not one of those little pocket ones. It's a.
But so he's fired 3 bullets, and he probably has 3. Right?
Yes, he probably has 3 left.
Probably has 3 left. And the tables. Are we in such a position that they could be kicked up from our crouch position to provide cover between us and him?
Give me one moment. Yeah, you are.
Great. All right. Well.
Yeah, especially since there's 2 distinct groups of you, and there's 3 people missing.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to wait until people come around to try and collect stuff. So it would actually give Rezan a chance to do her thing first.
Okay. Vas, what about you? And Aurelia?
I think I see. I don't know what Casimir's planning, but he's planning something, and I kind of like grab his arm and like, just give him your wallet, you idiot. It's just.
Yeah, I'm actually.
Get everyone killed.
Yeah, I'm actually like getting ready to. I don't have a lot on me. Maybe like a small, inexpensive bracelet and a little bit of cash, and I'm just like prepared to hand that over.
I think I like very obviously pull out my wallet and put it on the table, like very deliberately, like this is how you do it, Casimir.
Yeah, Casimir will do that too.
Yeah, the family who was across from you has put everything. You know, the father has just put his entire jacket on the table. The daughter has put the fur coat she was wearing, or the fur stole she was wearing, as well as some of her jewelry on the table. And one of them, the woman you met at the front desk, comes over, Electra. And she walks up to the table. And she says, "This is Lord Kazmarak's table, isn't it? The Honorable Kazmarak, whatever his name is."
Okay, so she's up to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've kind of put my stuff in such a way to get her to come around to my side of the table.
Right.
And then I guess so Voss, I'm sort of doing my best to communicate what we're going to do, but hopefully you'll back my play. We're going to kick up this table to provide cover, and we're going to take her hostage.
Great. I think like I realize what you're doing too late to like at the point where trying to stop you would make things worse. And I'm like, fine. I take out my knife and yeah, I'll go along with this.
All right, you want to kick the table, or you want to grab her?
Kick the table.
All right.
Give me one moment. So your goal is for the two of you to kick up the table, for one of you to grab her and hold her hostage?
Yes, and I have a gun, so I don't think I necessarily need to grab her too hard. Mm-hmm. She doesn't seem like the kind of person who's gonna fight versus a gun. But who knows? Maybe she'll surprise me.
Okay. So we're going to use a Whitehack rule with dexterity, because it's a lot about speed and precision. I mean, the tables are not terribly tough or heavy in any sort of like superhuman sort of way. And these are a little tricky to do online. So I am going to open a separate role for your party room. This requires a little bit of secrecy.
Interesting.
And I'm not going to look at your room. And I'm going to need Casimir or Voss, either one, since you're sort of cooperating, to roll a d6.
Question, is this taking place before or after Razan's spirit summoning?
This is taking place right before, because this is very fast.
Great. Sounds good.
Okay. Razan still has half a staircase to climb up. And this is going to involve dexterity, and this is it's called an auction. It's a way to handle like a large multi-step complex movements.
Okay.
All in a fell swoop.
So
and this is going to be a dexterity roll. And I'm going to use the average of the two of y'all's, which is 12, as your dexterity.
Okay.
So you tell me when you have rolled a d6.
So we should each roll d6, or just one of us?
No, just one of the two of you roll a d6.
Oh, I see.
You'll all be able to see.
All right, you want to go first, Voss?
Sure. D6.
And don't tell me what you get. Just tell me when you've rolled it.
Okay. Waiting for whether it's loaded or not. Okay. It's rolled.
So You started with a average dexterity of 12. You're going to add that to your dexterity, whatever you rolled.
Okay. Who's rolling against us here exactly? Or who's opposing us?
They are. I'm just doing it secretly for a second.
But how in the fiction? How are they opposing this table being knocked over?
Oh, so it's more like because it's a complex action where you're doing that and grabbing somebody.
Got it.
To sort of have them.
Okay.
So it's both, they, not putting leverage back on the table, but also that you're able to get the table up, grab the person, and pull them around.
Oh, yeah.
Before the other person breaks free and knocks the table back in place.
Oh yeah. By the way, one other thing. Before I was just looking at my character sheet. Before this went down, I think Casimir would probably pray.
I'm going to need you to take a little more time to pray.
Okay, so prayer is a thing that takes time. It's not something.
Yeah, it's not like a long time, but it does take. It's not just a quick second.
Okay, that's fine.
So what we're going to do is that D6 plus your average dexterity of 12 is your current functional dexterity score. The auction works like this. Whichever of us bids higher rolls first. And you want to bid on the likelihood of you winning. And then we go. And then we roll. In that order. If the person who bids higher rolls and succeeds on that roll, they automatically just win, and that what you set out happens. The stakes are that if the first person to roll doesn't win because of the two-person, the second person will win. The stakes are you either get the table up into place as a shield with the person sort of captured behind it, or the table is completely flipped over with somebody else at the table sort of pinned down by her knife.
Great. So what are we bidding exactly?
Yeah, so bidding is just a 1 to 6 bid. You can automatically take 1, which means you'll go last. Or you can you can go higher. I'll tell you right off the bat, my bid is a 5.
Wait, so what is the disadvantage of bidding 6?
The disadvantage of bidding 6 is that if you go first, then if you lose, you'll be the only person to check.
I see.
So
I think we should bid 6.
Yeah, let's bid 6.
All right. Check your dexterity with that D6 roll that I've not looked at.
You want to do it this time?
Sure. Although I feel like we're doing something wrong. I don't understand.
No.
Makes sense to me. So the only we can just pick whatever number we want for our bid between 1 and 6.
Yeah.
And if we win this roll now, which is just a roll under our dex,
it's a little more complicated if there's multiple parties trying to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty straightforward and absurdly simple if there's just 2 parties.
All right. Well, we rolled under our dex, which our effective dex is 18, so we rolled under
Nice.
With a 3.
Yeah, she is not looking. The table springs up, and which one of you grabs her?
I said it was going to be me.
Yeah.
And
do you want her knife, or do you want it do you want her knife on the floor or in your hand?
We'll put it on the floor where really I can grab it.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll say yes. This is indeed the table of the Honorable Casimir Kaczmarek. So good to see you again, Electra.
Aurelia, what are you doing real quick? Since the table suddenly sprung upwards, and the woman who was threatening you with a knife and taking your valuables, which are now on the floor.
I mean, I think I swear under my breath something along the lines of "goddamn jock fop," and I grabbed the knife because, you know, now it looks like we're in the shit, so I might as well be able to defend myself.
Yazan, in the time it took you to get upstairs, everything went to hell. Like, you literally turned your back for 30 seconds. And you get to the top of the stairs, looking out over the mezzanine, and all of a sudden, Casimir and Vas have overturned tables, drawn everyone's attention. All the other, you know, the other 5 servants are sort of, the staffers from the hotel are sort of surging forward. 3 of them have knives. And your brother is turning to point his gun in that direction, screaming, "On the ground, on the ground, on the ground." And several people at the tables closest to the patio door have surged towards the patio. What do you do?
Well, in the confusion, I think time to use that elemental spirit that Lady Zelwar gave me.
It is a wonderful time to do that. Tell me, how do you? Is it stashed somewhere like a genie? Is it summoned from somewhere?
Yeah. So the definition is that I was gifted with a lesser jinn, efreet, or other spirit of primal elements bound to a small decorative box. And so this is actually kind of like a spring-loaded flask that has this like kind of bright blue glow to it. Mm-hmm. And then what I have to do is I have to kind of like pull it apart like a party cracker, and it will release the Zabani from it, and that will allow me to, it'll appear because it's contained in there, and then I can order it to do a specific task.
Make a quick dexterity check. I just want to see if you get this done faster before anybody sort of gets to. No, let's just have you do it. Let's.
Yeah, because I was going to actually say that I think this is also a point where I'm relying on my good fortune in a major way.
Oh yeah, to have this thing show up.
Well, not just show up, but like, you know, take the upper hand in this particular situation.
Yeah, this is a perfect time to use your good fortune in that way. So you break open the box and you want to knock out your brother, or what would you like to accomplish? I'm not going to go for this.
So the way I kind of imagine this is that so this is it's a lesser spirit, but it's basically a demon, kind of like a thunder demon. And so it kind of like comes out of it, and I just like point at my brother, and like I think that like at the same time, I think this hotel probably has electricity, but like having the Zabani in it means that all of the electrical bulbs around the place like start to like pop and fizz, and like everything starts to get dimmer, and then it's just like blue lightning that like shoots from my hand straight to my brother and like shocks him and drops him unconscious. And then I think I probably have to wait a little bit before I can use it again, but I just kind of scream out loud. It's like,
well, I mean, it's in the space. Now you can tell it something to do once it's done that, just like it's a normal person in the space, because it is your servant.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think at that point, like, I scream out loud. It's like, anyone who doesn't want to meet the same fate, put down your weapons right now. And you all see that it's me at the top of the thing.
And the lights are out, the doors are open, the wind is billowing in.
I'm all lit up with blue electricity already.
The person in charge seems to have been knocked out. The lights are dim as several of the bulbs have blown.
Casimir's going to say to Electra, now's your chance to tell them to back down if you want to live.
Electra starts to mutter something in Old
If she,
Settler.
if I think that she's casting a spell, I'm gonna pistol whip her.
Is there is there any way I could either hear or might understand that?
Yeah. So what I think I'm gonna ask you to do is let's all do a basic dexterity check, or the two of you to do a basic dexterity check. Voss too. Do a basic dexterity check and tell me if you succeed. If that'll be sort of our initiative to see which of you go before her and we go after her.
I fail.
How do you do there, Aurelia?
Oh, I very badly failed. That was a 20.
On Voss.
Voss, you see her do something where she starts to chant something, and she's fumbling for a dropped steak knife.
I'm gonna like elbow her in such a way to like knock the breath out of her, so she can't chanting.
So you're gonna roll your attack value. She has no armor, so it's just a straight up roll of your attack value, much like you would roll an attribute.
Okay.
And you are strong, right?
Yeah.
Boss. Yeah, you have. Yeah, you're gonna treat your attack value as 14 for this.
Yeah, even if it was 12, I still succeeded.
Nice. What'd you get?
6.
6. Roll a d6.
Four.
4. One second. She coughs and sputters to the ground as you knock sort of the wind out of her, Voss. I mean, she's not unconscious, but she's not grabbing anything. She's sort of
casting a spell, so it's good.
And she's like gasping for air. Like you struck her down pretty hard. And I think this is when the town police get there. There's just, by this point, there's just Electra and a dishwasher in addition to Pavel, who are still here. The other 3 got away, as well as many of the guests when the police sort of show up to round people up.
I want to just kind of look at Electra and be like, don't say anything.
She's still coughing, like she can't get her.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I pick up that knife that she was going to pick up, and my idea is that I am not going to turn her over to the police because I want to find out some things from her, and like, but yeah.
When we get a second, I'd just like an opportunity to know if I understood, like if I had any idea what specifically she was trying to do, if I understood the language she was speaking. Like I think I would have dealt with Old Settler at some point, just as like dealing with artifacts, but whether that's like necessarily conversational or whether there was like it was an incantation or what, whether that's something I'd be able to know.
So normally in Whitehack, at character creation, you check both your intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, each to see if you knew one additional language for each of those. I'm going to have you do it now because we've not really encountered additional languages, and I hate to have you do them that you don't need. So why don't you check? Your best one is intelligence. Let's check that one.
Sounds good.
And
can I check it with advantage because of field archaeologist?
Oh yeah.
So my better roll was a 5. My worst roll was an 18, and my intelligence is 15. So that's a 5.
Voss, Kazmir, would either one of you like to check to see if you know?
Sure. So it's charisma, intelligence, or
Yeah.
wisdom. All right, well,
Yeah, you can roll
I guess.
each of them once. Though there's not many other non-old settler old languages.
All right. Well, I'm gonna check charisma and succeed.
Nice. What about you, Voss?
No matter what I use, it's still a 19.
Oh no! All right.
Bye.
Kazmir and Aurelia, you both speak Old Settler. Aurelia, exquisitely because you are a field archaeologist. Kazmir, probably because of people you've served with. For people who've sort of been dominated in the last 100 years or so, a good way to sort of get out of sort of the social position they're in is to go into military service. So you probably had command of people who spoke Old Settler.
And Casimir has not been speaking Old Settler thus far.
Right. There's not been really. I mean, you're in Vreli. There's not really a need to. She was incanting something about. You heard her say, "With the blood of our invaders, protect us."
Do I recognize that? Like, am I going to be able to know, is that like a Old Settler prayer or battle cry or what have you? Slogan?
It's going to be a little bit slow, but I'll go ahead and have you make the roll now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a quick recognition thing. It's something you're going to have to kind of sit down with for a bit.
That's fine.
And field archaeologist definitely informs that.
Or I was about to ask if that or Independent Progressive Association, if it's a revolutionary.
No, field archaeologist is definitely.
I hit right on the nose of 15.
It is. It is. It's going to take some time to specifically track down where, but it's a variation on something you've read before associated, and this is not just Old Settler goddess, this is a mountain goddess called Winterwhite. But it's going to take some time to nail exactly what the older form of it, but it's a ritualized appeal that you're associating with appeals people made to Winterwhite, who always wanted blood. And now she sort of coughed up, and she was gonna, it was gonna take. She was clearly not at all anywhere near finished with what she was about to say. But it's clear her intention was to draw Casimir's blood. And Casimir, you remember when you checked in, she pointed to the Burners Memorial, the people who were part of the Brezim invasion, and mentioned that there are Casimiracs in the Burners and
oh yes,
in the invasion.
I knew from that conversation that she wanted to spill my blood. I just didn't realize that she was actually going to take any action on that front. By the way, I'll say to Voss, that's another one I owe you. Thank you.
And Bashir is also on the ground looking shocked. And sort of turns to you and says, like, is the invitation for Brandy open?
This is the guy who... Sorry, which character is this?
This is the guy who was coming over, who had been looking down the hallway and mentioned that he was expecting to see Mrs. Novak.
Certainly. Just give us some time to get cleaned up.
I could really use a brandy. And he sort of just sits there as the police sort of start rounding up what's left. Brezim, your brother is being taken in, but he's unconscious, correct? As you left him?
Yes. Yeah, he'll have to recover in an hour or so.
Okay. He's being sort of brought in off a stretcher. There's not many police in Vreli, and most of them are busy trying to calm people down.
Do I see the young lieutenant or the young cadet that I?
Yes, yes. He's looking like he's trying to look in control, but he is definitely overwhelmed. He seems to be in charge, though he does not seem to want to be in charge.
I kind of go over there, and I basically, and he knows who I am, and actually, I'm sure that through various things, he's heard that I was the one to, incapacitate the ringleader of this operation. And so I just tell him, I lean in and I tell him, it is very important that this man stays separated from everyone else and that he is not questioned until I come to visit in a few hours.
Have you commanded your spirit back into your box?
Yes. Unless it's more intimidating for him to see my, gin with me.
Oh, would you like to sort of do that just as you're walking up to him?
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I will actually just be putting the gin back in the box. So all of that lightning and stuff is swarming around, and I just pop it back into the little container, and I tuck that into my blouse, and I smile at him and I say what I said.
He nods. It's Miss Rustin. Thank you. Your decisive action. I'm sure it saved many lives.
Only too happy to help.
He seems vaguely uncomfortable with everything.
And at that point, I think I lean in and I say, well, I think I've made myself clear, but I have a question for you.
Yes.
What do you know about all of this that has just happened here?
Why, I only know that we heard screaming coming from the inn, and I sounded the alarm. Everyone on patrol converged towards here. And then there was no one at the front desk. There was no one anywhere in the hotel.
I'm trying to suss out if he knows more than
in the lobby. I mean, there was no sign of any staff.
And I'm trying to suss out if he knows anything more than he's letting on.
Check your charisma.
My charisma is a 14. So let's see. And it's a 15.
He's definitely hiding something from you. He's something he feels like he's not supposed to say.
Is there any way I could potentially bluff him again with my police connections to get whatever it is out of him?
Yeah. Would you want to just roll that at advantage since he already knows you?
Oh, yeah. So should I re-roll that?
Yeah, just re-roll. Since he already knows about your code words.
All right. So they're both below. So it's a 13 and a 9, and 13 is one below my 14. So.
All right. But they're both below, which is quite phenomenal. So he looks at you almost as if he wants you to give him orders. It's like there were staffers who were clearly, one was locked in the laundry closet, and one of the bellhops was bound and gagged in in behind the front desk. We didn't see him till later, and well, I'm not sure what else I can. I'm not sure what else I can say. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Where is the maitre d'?
The maitre d'?
Yes, the maitre d'. Because I'm remembering that conversation I had in the bathroom, where instead of sending me back to dinner, she sent me up to my room to spare me this whole thing because I was a local.
Have you mentioned that to him at all?
No, I'm like making it look like I'm making an official inquiry.
He looks completely befuddled for a second, and then was like, "Yes, there's been no maitre d'. It was Electra in the 4 kitchen staff, except for the cook. God rest his soul."
Did the cook die?
Yes. We don't want to upset anyone, but yes, the cook is dead.
What's this cadet's name?
Osset.
Osset?
It's Lieutenant.
Lieutenant Osset.
I mean, he's probably a cadet, really, but he is Lieutenant Osset.
Okay. And I take on my most authorial tone, and I tell him, Lieutenant Osset, I think that it is very important that we find the maitre d' and get to the bottom of what happened here. I suggest you put out to your men quietly that we are looking for them.
Of course. What else do you suggest?
I think that it is important to make it look as though this was a small and poorly planned effort. We want to lull anyone else who might have been involved into a false sense of security.
Of course, of course. And Aurelia, you had said that you were telling them Electra just was wounded and was not involved, correct?
That was my idea.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, Voss. So yeah, he did not say that Electra was involved. He said it was just the kitchen staff and this Pavel.
Yes, keep the ringleaders separate, as I've said. Do not allow them any visitors.
Of course, of course. Just to attack the front desk staff like that. Even Electra. Poor sweet Electra.
Is Electra like kind of being like held by Voss or something, like still there?
I think you were kind of keeping her. Correct, Voss?
Yeah, I was keeping her there because I wanted to ask her some questions, and I think, mostly I wanted to know what she was doing with that spell, like what that was for.
I mean, so Casimir will back your play if you want to keep her out of their hands, even though he's skeptical of this. He'll tell Electra, I think, if you hear this, he'll tell her to faint, or to pretend to faint, and that unless she wants to be handed over to the authorities.
Yeah, Aurelia is also extremely interested in Electra at this point.
Bashir gives you all crazy knowing looks, and the family has run away. And is generally not being particularly useful. So Bashir is backing your play. If that's what you're all doing.
Who is Bashir? Is this the Falcon Brood guy?
Yeah, that's the Falcon Brood guy. Bashir Falcon Brood.
Yeah, that's my contribution to tonight's stupid plans.
Take a captive.
Yep. That never goes wrong.
I think at this point, like probably what I'm doing is I send off. Oh, devil! What was the cadet's name again?
I'm sorry. The cadet is one second, lost the spelling. It's Aset.
Aset. Okay.
Yes, and you're sending you've sent Pavlov with Aset and told him to keep him from the other two, or from the other. Yeah, it was really only one.
And I think that
captured.
Yeah, if there's any, yeah, I think that like I don't want to reveal too much of my like involvement in this, so I probably don't like ask for like additional authority or anything like that. I want to keep it like on the down low, like he's kind of reporting to me.
He takes a deep breath and gives you somewhere between a nod and a bow, and a very slight salute.
I very quickly like ixnay that because I'm secret with these air quotes.
And yeah, he immediately begins unconfidently barking orders.
And I think at this point, I go and I put on airs. I look a little distressed, and I run over to my friends, and I quickly like, "Are you okay, everyone?"
Son, you never cease to surprise me.
And I just smile and I say, "I have to have a few tricks up my sleeve."
Wait, a few? More than just the lightning demon?
I believe we were about to head back to the suite for some frank conversations, and I look at Electra.
I pick up on that and I say, "Yes, that I think we've all had quite a scare. It'd be wonderful to recamp and like to regroup and get our heads together."
That sounds like an excellent plan.
All right.
Do we want to call it here if we're gonna do like a stars and wishes after?
Yeah, let's go ahead and call it here, because I think that will be a good place to pick up next time with the conversation with Electra. And let's stop broadcast.